Welcome to INN CEO Talks. Joining me today is Jordan Trimble, the Director, President, and CEO of Skyharbour Resources. Skyharbour holds an extensive portfolio of uranium exploration projects and assets in Canada's Athabasca Basin and is well positioned to benefit from the improving uranium market fundamentals. Jordan, welcome. Great to have you on the program.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be back.
You have quite a number of assets. Why don't you give a quick overview to viewers about, the different projects that you have underway?
Yeah, absolutely. So we now have 15 projects scattered throughout the Athabasca Basin in northern Saskatchewan. For those unfamiliar with the Athabasca Basin, it's the highest grade depository of uranium in the world. We've acquired these projects since we started the company as a uranium company back in 2013. So we've been at it for a while. We've been very opportunistic in what has been, up until recently, quite a difficult and depressed uranium market that's afforded us the ability and the opportunity to go out and build this asset base. It's now one of the largest land packages controlled by any one company in the region, totaling over 450,000 hectares. We offer investors exposure to all different parts of the Athabasca Basin, including the southeast, the southwest, as well as the northern regions. The projects range from earlier stage exploration properties right through to more advanced stage exploration assets. We have a couple of projects with resources on them, as well as high grade uranium mineralization that we or partner companies are looking to find more of or expand on.
So the market right now has two sort of very important fundamentals that are shifting. One is policies within the United States that want to make sure that there is a North American or a domestic supply, coupled with Russia's invasion of Ukraine and what that's going to do on their ability to sell their uranium. Let's talk about the market. How's it looking and shaping up at the moment? Over what kinds of timelines? Because there had been a glut of uranium for quite some time on the market.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot to unpack there. If we just look at the underlying fundamentals, the supply demand for this metal, for this commodity, it is one of the most compelling underlying supply demand stories out there, and has been now for a number of years. That yes, there was a glut of secondary supply post Fukushima. We saw this industry really take a huge dive. And again, like I said, that's what allowed us to go out there and be opportunistic in acquiring the assets and putting together a top tier team. But we've seen that supply side now rectify itself. There's been a pretty major supply side response that's played out over really the last 5.5, 6 years, as we've seen production curtailment, we've seen underinvestment in the sector. So now we are sitting with a fairly significant primary mine supply deficit. If you look at the numbers for 2022, we're expecting about 140 to maybe 145 million pounds of primary mine supply. That's in the backdrop of 185 to 190 million pounds of estimated demand. So it's a pretty significant shortfall. Now, if you look at the drivers over the last few years in particular, for those that have been following the sector, you'll see that, all in all, it has been a fairly good 18 months or so. There's a number of reasons for that. Obviously, the underlying supply demand fundamentals contributing to that. But, it's just taking a step back here. Nuclear energy, uranium being the fuel for nuclear energy, is the only source of emissions-free baseload, affordable, scalable, and reliable electricity generation. It's really at this crossroads or nexus of two major macro trends currently underway, one being electrification globally as we need more electricity, the other being clean energy. So we've seen the sentiment around nuclear energy improve drastically. We see countries committed to decarbonization and net zero emissions goals. If you look at the US, if you look at China, for example, these are the largest economies in the world, and corporations as well. If you look at China in particular on the demand side, they've announced that they have plans to roll out 150 nuclear reactors over the next 15 years. That's more nuclear electricity generation coming on in China alone in the next 15 years than has come on globally in the last 35 years. And then you also have the advent of SMRs and new advanced nuclear technologies that could contribute to further growth in demand for uranium. So not only has the supply side responded, but we're seeing what will be, I believe, significant growth in demand. Now you couple that with some recent developments, including new financial entities that have entered the market, that have been purchasing physical material and sequestering it out of the market, as well as some security of supply issues. The one thing that we can say definitively with this commodity is that the risks to the supply side, at least over the last few years, have far exceeded the risks to the demand side. We saw that with the pandemic and the supply disruptions caused by that in 2020, and then more recently, security of supply as it pertains to the conflict in Ukraine and Russia. And getting back to your question, yes, Russia is a key player in this industry. They account for primary mine supply, and some of their allied countries and states like Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan under Russian influence are significant producers, Kazakhstan being the largest producer of uranium globally, accounting for about 40% of primary mine supply. So there is a primary mine supply potential disruption concern, but also Russia is a key player in conversion and enrichment as well. So as we continue to see sanctions and potential import bans, this could have major ramifications for Western nuclear utilities and further tighten the market, which I believe will lead to continued price appreciation in the underlying metal and a benefit to uranium mining companies, in particular, Western uranium mining companies.
Okay, let's come back to your projects then. As we see the supply side starting to tighten up, the market demanding more uranium, where are you in the process of being able to develop out your projects to be able to supply that market?
Yeah, so look, as an exploration and early stage development company with projects in the Athabasca Basin, we're really in the business of finding the next generation of uranium deposits in resources that can provide the fuel for these nuclear reactors going forward. So at our project base, as I mentioned, we have 15 properties scattered throughout the Athabasca Basin. We have a dual-pronged strategy at Skyharbour. First and foremost, we are an exploration company. We're out there looking to make additional discoveries, looking to expand existing resources, again, focus being on high-grade uranium mineralization. The three core projects there are Moore Lake, South Falcon Point, and our recently optioned Russell Lake project from Rio Tinto. So going to Moore Lake, that has been really the focus for us over the last several years. It's a great asset in the portfolio. We acquired it in 2016. We've been advancing the project ever since then with a number of drill programs, usually several drill programs each and every year. Historical highlight drill results include 21% U3O8 over 1.5 meters. More recently, we've been focusing the drilling and the exploration in the underlying basement rocks at the project, which have been poorly tested historically, and we've intersected some of our highest grade mineralization in these underlying basement rocks. So it's a highly prospective project, more advanced stage exploration project, and we do have plans to continue advancing that property here through the rest of this year and next year. Our 100% owned South Falcon Point project, just south of Moore Lake, is host to a small inferred near surface uranium resource. We have plans to explore and advance this project through the remainder of this year. And last but not least, as I mentioned, our recently optioned Russell Lake project from Rio Tinto. This is a major development for the company, a new core asset for us and our shareholders. It adjoins Moore Lake, To the west, the road that services MacArthur River goes up through this project, so it is road accessible. There are historical high-grade drill results, and it's a very large property package, ideally located proximal to mining infrastructure on the east side of the Athabasca Basin. So a very strategic new project for us, an acquisition for Skyharbour, and look for additional news flow on this project as we have plans to advance it through this year and into next year.
So you're remarkably well positioned as demand comes online and others look to you because you are part of that overall supply cycle. But you're in a good position to be able to meet needs as the demand increases. What can we look for from you in the next couple of months when investors are going to want to come back and say, okay, tell us more about Skyharbour and where you're going. What's right in front of us? This is an extension of what you've already told us. I know that you've given us a lot of information, but investors are hungry for information.
Yeah, no, look, absolutely. The three core projects, as I just pointed out, where we're funding the exploration, we have plans to advance them over the course of the next 12 months. There'll be lots of news flow and catalysts from those projects. But as I mentioned, our dual-pronged strategy, in addition to being a high-grade exploration and early-stage development company, we also act as a prospect generator in that we bring in partner companies to either option, joint venture, or buy out some of our secondary projects. And we now have 5 partner companies, one of which is Orano, which is a 51% joint venture partner in our Preston project. Another company at our East Preston project, Azincourt Energy, just wrapped up some drilling, and they have plans to continue advancing that project through the remainder of the year and into next year. And then we have 3 relatively new option partners, one of which is an ASX-listed company, Valor Resources, at our Hook Lake project. Again, they've just wrapped up some drilling at that project and have plans to continue advancing that project over the course of the next 12 months. And then more recently, we announced 2 new option partners in Madero Mining at our Yurchison property and in Basin Uranium Corp at our Man Lake project. Both companies are planning exploration and drill programs or have drill programs underway. So in addition to the news flow and catalysts from our core projects, we have active partner companies at some of our secondary projects, and we benefit as a shareholder in the companies that are public, as well as ultimately, provided they earn in, minority interest holders at these various projects. So it's a great complement to our core business, and it provides ample news flow in addition to what we're doing at our 3 main projects.
You have a lot going on, and we can't cover everything here. But of course, for those who are interested, I'm sure that they can go to your website and then reach out to Investor Relations to learn more. It's been a fascinating interview, and I'm hoping that you'll come back and give us updates in the future.
Absolutely, I would love to, and thanks for having me.
Thank you.